Let's get more on what this could mean for Facebook shares and bring in fast money friend Gene Munster of Loup Ventures. Gene, always great to speak with you.
Melissa?
This is only through July, yes, but we have heard from companies, and I'm thinking specifically of Expedia in regards to Google, but still the point is there that the pandemic is offering the company an opportunity to reset ad spending. And I'm thinking, you know, if companies are going to boycott Facebook for the month of July, they could come out of it and say, you know what, this pandemic, this is a good time to say, maybe we don't go back in the size that we were before.
I think it's unlikely, and I've learned a lot about Facebook over the past year and a half. I predicted when there was this greater awareness of some of how toxic Facebook and social media was, that there would be a new awareness of people and they would start to moderate some of their time on social media. Apple came out with some tools around screen time. And at the time, Facebook's users, even though the biggest user base monthly in the world was growing at about 5%, that has continued to grow at 5% over the last 6 quarters. And my lesson learned is, despite all of its shortcomings, is people are largely addicted to the endless, mindless scroll. And when you talk about the chicken and egg, Melissa, I think ultimately both of those come down to the user base. Are the users there? And it continues to grow. And I think one of the disappointing parts about this with these advertisers that have made announcements is how quick they were to say that they're going to come back, likely come back in August. What that means to me is that they're making a statement. They're showing some form of support around the topic, but ultimately they are going to embrace Facebook as a platform because, and you frame this in well, your panel has, about there really is no other place to go. And so they are ultimately valuing their bottom line more than they are the cause that they report to be supporting.
Hey, Gene, it's Tim, and I know you're not a digital marketing, and kind of ad technology guy per se, but what you're talking about is a world where suddenly there is software. Advertisers really have the ability to see where their ads are going and the context in which they're being viewed and how they're being consumed, and I mean the ads themselves. Doesn't this mean that advertisers have a lot more control and they can manipulate the outlets that much more? And again, there are some really hot upcoming ad technology companies that do just this, and it feels like this is the right time for that.
Definitely the right time. The environment's there. The need around the traditional methods are being continued to be governed. If you look at some of the announcements that Apple's made today about being able to block some of the traffic monitoring that's gone on, to your point, Tim, yes, there's definitely more opportunity around that. But ultimately, it comes back to where the people are, where are the eyeballs, where are the users, and the time spent. And that has been the piece that has unfortunately surprised me over the past year and a half, is even though that there's new tech out there, is that I cannot foresee anything really trying to get humanity back on a track and ultimately advertisers on a track. I'm not trying to politicize anything that's going on here. I'm making just a simple comment, is that when you look at great tech companies that are ultimately changing the world, I think that needs to be change the world for the better. And I think that you can build an argument that Facebook is behind on that topic.
That's very diplomatically put, Gene, behind on making the world a better place. Gene, it's always great to speak with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gene Munster of Loup Ventures. So, Bonawyn, if you own the stock, should this be a concern? Should this factor in the fact that, and I think this is an interesting notion, that Facebook is behind on that effort to make the world a better place? Does that matter if you're in the stock?
The short answer, unfortunately, is no. At the end of the day, we're all about margins, profitability, and reach. And as we've all said, Facebook has that in droves. What I will say is that the political climate does seem to be changing, and we've seen it across the nation. And for what has gotten Facebook to this point is being at the cutting edge of trend setting and being able to take data and actually process that in nanoseconds. And I just think that they would be remiss not to take some of this into consideration in terms of how it's being perceived with their customer base. But no, the short answer is no, I don't see it affecting the bottom line. I would assume that the companies that have decided to pull back ad spend in the interim represent, only a small percentage of income and revenue streams.